So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
and making a living at it, I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody. Mike's 58 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
I hate doing this because Mike gets mad at me every time I do this, but Mike shouldn't be fighting.
Dana White just slammed the Mike Tyson vs. Jake Paul fight. Because why should he hold back when it comes to this ridiculous matchup? You've got a 58-year-old Tyson who's been out of the ring for over a decade, going up against a 28-year-old in his prime.
I believe that he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying him.
Right.
But he's doing it. You know, what do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
Our UFC boss didn't mince words about Jake Paul either, pointing out that this is just another one of Paul's trademark moves. He's got a track record of handpicking older, retired athletes, making it look like a legit fight, while in reality it's just a circus act. Dana White didn't just criticize the fighters. He called out the entire gimmick of it, a cash grab dressed up as a fight. This so-called legendary fight is all smoke and mirrors, and White's calling it out for exactly what it is.
Under any circumstances, an almost 60-year-old man shouldn't be fighting a 27-year-old. Under any circumstances, even if it's Mike Tyson. So it's just ridiculous.
He's looking at a matchup between a 58-year-old legend and a 28-year-old YouTuber turned boxer who cherry picks opponents like he's shopping for easy wins. Dana's disbelief wasn't just palpable, it was practically punching through the screen.
God, when this fight happens, Tyson will be 58 years.
I'm worried about it.
Under any circumstances,
Forget about being a fighting legend for a second. This man is pushing 60, with years of wear and tear on his body. Jake Paul's idea of leveling up his career shouldn't involve dragging icons out of retirement just to land a few Instagram-worthy punches. And here's where Dana really turned up the heat by pointing to Jake Paul's opponent's strategy. Dana pointed out what we've all been thinking, but maybe didn't want to say out loud. Jake doesn't fight people he might lose to. He goes after retired athletes, aging fighters, or people way out of their prime.
And he was getting this like rap, like, oh, they're protecting their golden goose, whatever. And I remember, it's so funny. I remember the Jan fight. I was like, oh, they're done with him. They're gonna feed him to Jan. They don't think he's got it.
Dana called it out as the blatant clout chasing it is. The list of opponents, Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, and now Tyson, is like a retirement home roll call. It's not about proving himself as a legitimate boxer.
if you are the world champion,
Yeah.
there's no questioning who the best is, because you've already run through, the baddest people in the world in your weight class.
And now I understand why you get annoyed by media, because I remember when Sugar Sean was coming up, and he was getting that there was this narrative that like he was being protected.
Dana didn't stop there. He dropped another bomb when he brought up the Showtime boxing situation. And let's not forget Dana's jab about Jake's loss to Tommy Fury.
Tyson knocks out
My
Jake.
biggest problem with the Jake Paul thing is, and how this plays out, is when he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who had the same type of record he has, who was his age,
Tommy,
and who was his size, lost.
Yeah.
Toe with someone his age and skill level. He loses. And Dana made sure to remind everyone of that little detail, emphasizing how Jake's entire shtick crumbles when the playing field is level.
These guys, Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him.
Dana's perspective cuts through the fluff and gets to the heart of the issue. This whole fight wasn't about honoring the sport or giving fans a legitimate contest. It was a cash grab, plain and simple. Tyson's name brought the legacy. Jake brought the social media hype, and together they turned the ring into a stage for something that barely resembled boxing. And Dana? He wasn't about to let it slide without calling out every mismatched, money-grabbing, credibility-shredding aspect of it. And honestly, after hearing his take, it's hard not to agree. Let's talk about the actual night of the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, because this was a spectacle that left everyone with mixed feelings. The judges scoring the fight 80-72, 79-73, and 79-73 in his favor. Now, don't let that fool you into thinking this was some close battle. Those scores don't lie. Paul pretty much dominated. Jake Paul landed a staggering 171 punches, while Tyson was only able to land 87. That's a huge gap. And when you look at those numbers, it's clear who controlled the pace of the fight.
I have love for Jake too. I don't know.
Wait,
I don't know what a fight's happening. I really
all
don't.
the same. He fights older people that are smaller. It's all the same shit. And listen, the kid's doing his thing, but he lies about all this stuff.
The problem is, it wasn't a case of Tyson just being outboxed by someone younger and faster. It's the fact that Tyson, at nearly 60 years old, was fighting someone who wasn't just a decade younger, but someone who had spent years cherry-picking easy opponents. He landed fewer punches, his stamina was clearly struggling, and his body wasn't exactly built for a fight like this. But despite all the disadvantages, Tyson hung in there. That's the only thing you can really give him credit for. He didn't quit. But here's the fallout, and it's not pretty. A lot of people are asking whether Tyson's legacy has been tarnished by this fight, and honestly, I get it. Tyson is one of the most iconic figures in boxing, and his career should have ended on his terms, not in a bizarre, money-driven spectacle. For fans of the sport who grew up watching him reign in the ring, seeing Tyson in that state was tough to stomach.
When Mike gets forward, lands a beautiful jab that rocks Jake, and I think immediately that made Jake realize that he couldn't be reckless against him. But then as time went on, he realized that that threat was not as present as he might have thought.
You want to remember the prime Tyson, the one who knocked out opponents with fearsome power, not the one struggling to keep up with a younger man. That's hard to accept, especially for longtime boxing fans who believe this fight was just a cash grab. And honestly, it feels like a slap in the face to the history of the sport.
If I brought up fucking Jake Paul, pretty much everybody in the room and the other room wants to see Jake Paul get knocked out. So you're hoping, you got the reason why you hope Tyson would pull this off. Or
Did you help set that up? Because I know you're close with Tyson.
God, no.
The audience's reactions were all over the place. Some people were entertained, others were outraged, but almost everyone had an opinion. On one hand, you've got people who are tuning in because they love the drama of it all. They want to see Jake, and honestly, that's all it was to them. But then there's the other side, the fans disgusted by what they saw. These are the people who believe the fight disrespected the sport. They didn't tune in for drama, they tuned in for a real fight, and what they got was far from it. To them, Tyson's participation in this fight was a tragic fall from grace, and Jake Paul was nothing more than an opportunistic celebrity looking to pad his own ego and bank account. Was it really worth risking Tyson's health for the sake of this fight? Absolutely not. This fight wasn't about sportsmanship, skill, or legacy. It was about spectacle, and it's a shame.
Rules are 8 2-minute rounds, not 3-minute rounds, 2-minute rounds, and 14-ounce gloves, not 10-ounce gloves. Normally pro fights are 10-ounce gloves, and no headgear, which is normal for, a pro fight. Here's my question. How do you call it a professional fight if the rules you're using are not professional rules?
Tyson's career deserves more respect than to be used as a pawn in a circus act. And let's be honest here, Jake Paul didn't even need to fight a legend to make a name for himself. He could have fought someone his own age, still active in the sport.
These guys, Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him.
But no, Paul went for the easy route, picking on a man who was clearly past his prime and dealing with health issues. That's not bravery, that's exploitation. Tyson's name holds weight, and Paul knew that using Tyson in this fight would generate the kind of buzz and attention he couldn't get from fighting a real competitor. Now, on to Dana White's long-standing feud with Jake Paul. White's been calling Paul a novelty act for years. Honestly, it's hard to disagree with him.
I'm surprised that Jake Paul is doing this. He's on the way to building a legitimate boxing career, regardless of what anyone else thinks. He's having real fights. To now step down to do this kind of exhibition style fight against, 50-something-year-old man. I just don't get the motivation from Jake's perspective.
Paul's entire career has been based on picking easy fights, and this match with Tyson was just the latest example.
From Jake's perspective.
Well, I do. Jake, part of it is what it's been from the beginning. He's been obviously very upfront about it. He's in the money-making business. I
don't think he needs the money. How much money do you need? He said makes like tens of millions a year.
Is there ever enough money, really? You've been in the finance.
For me, there is.
You are in the financial business before you got into this.
There's a level where you don't need any more, and it's not very much.
No, I agree. There are things more important than just money.
Paul's not out there fighting the best. He's cherry-picking his opponents. He fights people he knows he can beat, and when he can't. White's right to call out Paul on this. If Paul really wants to be taken seriously as a boxer, he needs to step up and fight someone who actually poses a challenge to him. The aftermath of Tyson versus Paul raises serious questions about the future of boxing. Will more legends be pulled into the influencer boxing circus? Fighters and promoters are already questioning the integrity of the sport. And streaming platforms like Netflix are fueling the spectacle rather than preserving the tradition of boxing. For boxing to regain credibility, it needs to return to its roots and focused on real competition, not gimmicks. If boxing doesn't course correct soon, it risks losing its respect and authenticity in favor of quick profits and viral moments, tarnishing the legacies of both fighters and the sport itself.